Hello, and welcome to Museum of the Mind at Bethlem Royal Hospital. I'm David, the archivist at the museum, and in this series of videos we're looking at 5 writers who tell the history of the hospital.
We begin in 1533. While Bethlem was called a hospital then, and while it was starting to care for the mentally unwell, it was not a medical institution. Hospital in this case came from hospitality, and it was a place to provide accommodation. Bethlem was still located in the grounds of the medieval priory of St Mary of Bethlehem, just outside of Bishopsgate in London, which probably looked a bit like this plan on the Layers of London website.
Our writer is Sir Thomas More in his Apology. More is best known for serving Henry VIII as Lord Chancellor. It was Henry who gifted Bethlem to the City of London in 1547, which is why we have his portrait here in the boardroom, which you can see over my shoulder. More is writing here in his capacity as Sheriff of the City of London, dealing with someone he regards as a troublemaker, a former inmate of Bethlem, in what we would think of as particularly brutal fashion. After that, he had fallen into that frantic heresy, fell soon after into plain, open frenzy beside, and, albeit that he had therefore been put up in Bedlam, and afterward by beating and correction gathered his remembrance to him, and began to come again to himself, being thereupon set at his liberty, walking about abroad, his old fancies began to fall again in his head, and I was from divers good holy places advertised that he used in his wandering to come about into church, and there make many mad toys and trifles, to the trouble of good people in divine service. Whereupon I caused him, as he came wandering by my door, to be taken by the constables, bound unto a tree in the street before the whole town, and there they striped him with rods till he waxed weary, and somewhat longer. And it appeared well that his remembrance was good enough, save that it went about in grazing till it was beaten home. For he could then well rehearse his faults himself, and promised to do so afterwards as well. Verily, God be thanked, I hear no harm of him now.